So my husband and I tried Equal Life, and we both could not stop talking about the detox and how good we felt. We talked nonstop about it. If you were around us during that time, you probably heard us talking about it. We felt like we had so much energy. We felt like we were 20 years old again. I can't say enough about Equal Life as far as using their products, really trusting their products. They are backed by third-party testing. You want to make sure that you're getting what it says you are getting. I support Equal Life because of the integrity they have. Click on our link in our show notes to get your free bottle today with orders over $149. Don't miss out. This deal lasts only a short period of time. You won't be disappointed. Your stomach, your body, and your mind will thank you. Welcome to the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. I'm Lori Groh, your host, mental health therapist, and practice owner. Each month, we'll showcase a central theme and provide weekly practical hacks, inspiring interviews, and valuable advice from wellness professionals. Our aim is to help you streamline your wellness and mental health journey. So let's start the show. Welcome. Today I'm talking with Ruane. And she's just incredible. I really enjoyed my conversation with her. Anne's passion is helping people reconnect with who they are through her work as an integrated energy healer, author, composer, and pianist. Anne learned to find her inner voice and discovered her inner strength through divorce. She learned self-love and acceptance through self-harm. Anne learned to see herself and her enoughness through the rigors of life and tears of challenging relationships. Anne was humbled and broken open, only for her to see what was within herself. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome, Anne. I would love to hear about your background and why you decided to become an energy healer. That isn't usually something someone just falls upon.
Correct. That's correct.
Would you mind sharing with me and the listeners a bit about your backstory?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. It's a real honor to be here sharing about emotions and about life and what's all going on the inside of us. And my journey with Reiki and energy work actually started after I got divorced. I had this time where I was healing, really, and I got a flyer in the mail from a local hospital. And typically I would throw those right in the recycle bin and not even bother to read them. And for whatever reason, I went ahead and I opened it, and there was the geriatric care, there was the pregnancy care, like all of that. And then it said Reiki attunement. And I was like, and it was a really tight squeeze in my schedule. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to see if I can make this work. It was all about my healing. There was no semblance of thinking that I was going to be doing this for other people. I was like, if I can have another tool to turn to heal, that would be ideal.
Right.
I did that, did the protocol, the second Reiki attunement, and I found it's beneficial to understand the energy in my body, like when I would feel my heart racing or if I'd feel like a knot in my gut, to pay attention to that. And then I got this nudge that said, you need to do this for other people. And I was like, oh man, I have so much healing to do on my own. I don't think I'm the person to do this. And my nudge came back and saying, no, that's exactly why you are the perfect person to do this.
100%.
And I went, okay, I will do that. And I went ahead with my Reiki master training, and that included having practice clients. And I was like, man, where am I going to go to find clients to practice on, to tell people what I'm doing and try to explain it to people? And I honestly can't even tell you the steps that happened, because all of a sudden it's like the people just showed up and it happened. It was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I guess I really am meant to do this. And so that started my whole journey with Reiki. And I was a full-time piano teacher at the time. I had probably somewhere between 75 and 80 piano students. And then as they would quit, I would condense my schedule and open up a day for Reiki. I kept getting you need to make more space. And I'm like, I am single. The fear came in. It was totally fear.
Yeah.
I found every reason under the sun why what is a good idea. I need the money. I have to pay the bill. And it was like, they won't come if there's not space. The logic in that, of course. So I followed that and it started to build. And that was the progression of how I shifted out of teaching piano into doing the energy work. And through my Reiki training, I learned of Free Spirit Crystals in Butler and signed up for their newsletter. Diane Bloom, the owner of the store, was holding crystal healing classes. And I thought, cool. So I signed up what was meant to be a 6-week course, ended up being weekly for 9 months.
Wow.
We just were so hungry for the information. We just kept going. And the energy among the three of us who were there and Diane teaching, we just couldn't get enough. And so then I started incorporating crystals in the energy work as well. And then Diane and Rose Cormenis, who I did my Reiki attunements with, they have a school called the Free Spirit School of Integrated Energy Healing Developing Consciousness Program. That's when.
Yeah. That should be very easy to remember. It's 17 words.
In their school and continue to learn more energy healing practices, experiences with other people, and learning about essential oils and crystals enhanced my journey with my clients. And that they kept saying over and over, feeling is healing, feeling. And, it was like, take your head off when you're with the client, listen to your body, respond to their body. Wow, it just felt so esoteric.
Yeah.
But then when I was with clients and actually implementing that, it made perfect sense because it is completely responding to the energy of the person I am working with. And it's not about me. It's not about me fixing anything. It's not me changing anything. It really is truly being a channel for the energy, for helping them understand the messages in their body, and ultimately to build a relationship with their body, because you can't feel your feelings if you have an unhealthy relationship with body. It was a really powerful experience to do all of that training at various stages in my own healing and growth.
Yeah, a lot of therapists, the feeling at the beginning of our work to, want to have as much knowledge as humanly possible. And that's a great thing. It's definitely very helpful. But when we leave that to the side, being in the moment with that person tends to be everything. But it is hard to explain because it does have a lot to do with expressing the feeling and what's going on right now for you and listening. Not all therapists use just talk therapy. IFS sounds like there might be a similar about finding your feelings within your body. And I'm sure the experiences too where people don't really do that often throughout their day, checking in with themselves and what they're feeling. People will forget to eat. People will forget to go to the bathroom. People will forget all sorts of things that their body is telling them, even those pretty significant bodily functions. So people aren't necessarily checking in with how they're feeling about different interactions or what's happening in a given moment.
And as a society, we're so conditioned to the social niceties. When someone asks how you are, it's either good, bad, fine, okay. And there's a time and a place for that, for sure. When you're at the grocery store, you're not going to all of a sudden tell the clerks that you're feeling angry. But we become so accustomed to doing that when we have an opportunity with a friend or a loved one or someone we trust to talk about how we feel, we legitimately don't know. We don't know what the feeling words are. And so I always talk about 6 main feeling words: sad, mad, glad, hurt, ashamed, afraid. And that's a starting point to be able to tune in and really say, yeah, I guess I am feeling a little bit nervous. That usually means I'm afraid that there's something that is just making me less willing to dive in either to a conversation or an activity or whatever is in front of you. And for most of us, going back to what I was saying before, it really is noticing what's going on in the body. We won't necessarily be able to name what fear is if we have difficulty naming the butterflies in our stomach or the speeding up of our heart or the knot in our gut, or if we're clenching our glutes or clenching our thighs or even clenching our jaw, all the different ways that our body is letting us know that there is something going on. Going by what you were saying about the typical body functions and not paying attention, breathing is another one. To be able to take a deep, purposeful breath, not just what the body automatically does, but to, my heart is racing. I'm going to just pause a minute and take a deep breath and allow the mind to slow down, allow my body to feel that it's safe. Because, when our bodies start talking, it doesn't necessarily feel safe to talk about how we feel. Is someone going to judge us? Are they going to receive us? Are they going to tell us we shouldn't feel that way? All of the reasons that get so mired and stuck in this little trap. And then we don't know how to feel safe in our own body for us to name, for me by myself to say, right now I'm feeling, and then to allow myself to feel afraid instead of getting angry with myself for feeling afraid when you have no right to feel afraid, because we have the inner judges and they're like, what are you feeling afraid about? It's okay to feel afraid. You don't have to understand why. Simply give yourself permission to feel that way. And when you do, the information then just starts to emerge. I understand what that is, but it's building that safety within us, which has to come first and foremost with feeling safe to check in and pay attention to our bodies.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You don't really know if you're going to be sharing with somebody else what they will respond. There is always going to be risk. And if you are practicing self-compassion and allowing yourself to not judge those feelings that are coming up and just accept them, that, hey, they're there and they're there for a reason and they're valid. If we're looking and feeling those feelings in a non-judgmental way, and we share them with somebody else that might not have the same kind of reaction that we do, we're going to feel a lot better after, because we're going to recognize that they have their own feelings and their own things related to what just happened. That doesn't have to do with me, right? So if you're feeling judged outwardly, do some of that work internally and see if that shifts anything for you.
And it's true, because we do have a tendency to seek the validation and affirmation outside of us. And it comes down to us needing to validate and affirm our own self and to go, okay, I may not understand why I'm feeling all of this sadness, but I'm going to give myself permission to know that I am safe to feel that sadness. Let the tears come instead of trying to make someone else take care of that sadness for us. And it doesn't mean that we can't receive comfort from somebody else, but it's not their responsibility to navigate our emotional landscape. We have to be able to name it, understand it, bring some form of acceptance to it. And then it allows to move, because emotions are energy. And when the emotions are held in the body, that's also what creates some of that physical discomfort. The held energy manifests in physical discomfort. So it's allowing yourself to go, okay, that's okay.
Yeah. And also going back to that physical discomfort, right? Most people have those spots where they keep all of the stress. Talking with other individuals right now at the age of 43, there are things that we are talking about in our group of friends right now of, oh, there's weird like pains here and weird this and weird that from repeating the same physical kind of movements that you do day in, day out. As a therapist, I'm sitting a lot. My hips tend to hurt from sitting. The reason I'm bringing that up is that's this repetitive thing that is happening to our body that we might not know, but holding a feeling or emotion in a particular spot, I would imagine would do something very similar.
Definitely. We hear the metaphor of carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. There is a sense of responsibility that brings truth to that metaphor, that we do feel really responsible, and bringing rest to the body reminds us that I am enough. I can handle whatever is coming my way. I have all that I need within me to be with what is in front of me. And so many times when we are holding our body, it does come from a place of self-judgment where we may not feel that we are enough, smart enough, or capable enough, or trying to make everything perfect so that we have this positive self-image. And realistically, the more I allow my flaws to be seen by other people, the more authentic I feel, because it's part of who I am. I'm not perfect. I do have the full scope of emotional bandwidth, and it's not always comfortable, but at the same time, the emotions come and they teach me stuff. Like, I understand Going back to my story about starting the energy healing, being nudged to do this work for other people or making space, it was totally fear that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't going to be capable, that there was too much wrong with me, all of those things. And then being able to sit down and understand the fear and understand that it was being fed by low self-confidence and needing to boost that and finding ways to be my own best cheerleader. And say, you know what, give it a try. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
That question, right? Because when we really sit with that, it's usually not that bad, the worst that could happen. Right. But it does seem as though it is this big, huge jump or this big leap. And it is, because we are feeling that fear. But I definitely know that feeling quite well, of going through all the what ifs and things could go wrong or people might laugh at you. But then the reality is, yeah, so what, right? I make a lot of mistakes on a very consistent basis. I can see, though, how it's a positive thing for my kids, because they will feel bad about something. And then I can say, Mom makes mistakes all the time. Sometimes I get that response of, yeah, we know you make a lot of mistakes, Mom. What a great thing, though, for them to say, like, yes. And I think you're pretty awesome because you're my mom and you make a lot of mistakes, and we all do. That part of me might want to protect my kids and other people from seeing that I make those mistakes.
And what's so beautiful about that example is that when your kids say that, not only is it all of this things you said, but it's also the unspoken, and I still love you.
Yeah.
You can make mistakes, and I still love you. It just means that you made a mistake.
And can I ask you a bit on when somebody's coming to see you, what are the reasons why somebody comes in to see you? How do they know that they should see you?
I have seen people for a variety of reasons. I have seen people for physical healing, like after a surgery or after an accident, for spiritual growth and understanding the divine within, connected to divine source. There are people who come knowing that they are healing from either a trauma, like a bad breakup, divorce, or a sudden death in the family. And when they come, I always ask the question, what brings you here today? Because oftentimes it is through a referral. And so they fill me in. And through that, even through the talking, because thoughts are energy as well. And that already starts to give me a lot of information, just as I would guess happens for you when you're paying attention to their body language, to where their eyes are going or how they're holding themselves. Then when they're on the table, then I will get some crystals that support the healing process. And the crystals go right along the chakra system of the body. What I always tell my clients to is that the crystals are smarter than I am. If they fall or move, they are where they are most meant to be. You didn't do anything wrong. That's just what happens. I always let my people know that I listen to the body. Where I go with my hands, so strictly determined by the body. I tend to start at the feet to ground and check in to see what level of an energetic presence they have within their body. It's very common for me to invite my clients to take a breath and not necessarily focus on changing the breath, but simply to notice it. To notice if it's shallow or deep, if it is easy or restricted, and to simply just pay attention, because again, that brings the awareness to the body. I've even had clients say, I don't know how to answer that. That's okay. That's okay. Just stay with it and allow yourself to be curious. The two phrases I say a lot to clients is be curious and be gentle. It's really inviting that space of allowing when the hands-on work begins. And as stuff comes up in the body, I will share it either as a question or maybe saying, I'm picking up on this. Can you tell me more about that? And I invite them to share as much as they will out loud, simply because that breaks up the mental energy, because as humans, we're very good at ruminating.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So when the thoughts are shared out loud, that allows that opportunity to make room for what else is underneath to come to the surface. And it's not about me telling them like the answers. It really is guiding them to discover that within them. And if it's not there right now, that's okay. Or if it's something you don't want to dive into right now, that's okay. You have that right to set those boundaries for yourself and to respond to your own comfort level And even when clients ask me, when should I come back? I always invite them to pay attention to their body. I said, your body will let you know.
Yeah. So it is really that attunement to your body. Is this a weird question? But there's some clear differences to the energy work versus meditation, but also some very clear links. The paying attention, slowing down, and allowing space. Are there specific differences?
I mean, in meditation, generally speaking, it's not out loud processing. It's more finding that quiet within. So there is that difference. But listening within is so much of where that external sharing comes from. And paying attention to the sensations in the body. You can read plenty of things about meditation where they're talking about when you feel uncomfortable and you want to stop, that's exactly the time to stay with it, because that's when that little nugget that you most need is going to come. And experienced it myself. Even when I'm journaling, it can be much the same. It's stay with it. What you need to know is right there. And in the energy work, when you start to feel uncomfortable, take a breath. I will invite them to do the same, to take a breath, to trust in the safety of the moment, to trust in the safety of being with what is in the body. And whether or not it comes to the surface is less important than the invitation to be received, just to go, okay, I'm going to open to the possibility that this can happen. So I would say the biggest difference between energy work and meditation is the out loud processing of.
I mentioned to you earlier about doing healing work. And what I found the most interesting is she was able to find where I had my surgeries without me even telling her, which felt strange and wonderful. That was incredible. I still to this day don't know how she could have known that just by paying attention to the energy. Yeah.
It is amazing what can be revealed when paying attention to energy work. I've worked with clients, and I had one client and I said, what's going on? And she ended up having an issue with her liver. That's what I was sensing. I had another client and I was picking up on stuff in the abdominal area. And I said, did you have a miscarriage? And she said, I did. So it really is like the body is so brilliant. The messages that are there and that our body remembers, our body will hang on to that energy until we take care of it and release it and give the full emotional service that is needed.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a thing that comes up for a lot of my clients is that idea of, I know what some of the problems are. I know what happened, yet I don't know what to do with it. And sometimes it is worked through in therapy. But is that something that somebody would come to you about as well, of that physical difficulties moving through past trauma?
Unwinding that happens. For example, I had a client who had a pretty serious wakeboard accident. And in the second session, his body did a full unwinding of the trauma in terms of the whole physical reaction to twisting of the body and the arm and his legs flying out to the side. The body completely unwound physically within the session. And while it's not always that big, that was definitely a very needed response for him. But it is much the same to understand what limiting beliefs are in the way, because sometimes we don't allow ourselves to feel all of the feelings because we justify somebody else's action. Oh, we know that this is how they are. And it's understanding that we still have a right to feel how we feel. We learn how to shut that down. Or we want to be the people pleaser and not create any conflict. And it's remembering that we have a right to choose ourselves first, that we do get to feel how we feel and understand maybe why someone else was acting the way they were. So sometimes moving forward is truly about giving yourself permission to feel how you feel. You have a right to feel that way. And sometimes when we justify other people's behavior, it can really establish that sense of there's something wrong with us. I shouldn't feel this way. There can be shaming. There can be blaming. There's guilt, like all of those things, depending on who we are as a person and what we carry. And those all interfere with moving forward. And so it's not uncommon in a session for emotional releases to happen. Where the tears come, it tugs at my heart. Where clients have an emotional relief and then apologize. No, this is a beautiful thing. Tears are the body's natural reset. You're giving your body this opportunity to move through what needs to be moved through. Feeling your feelings and knowing that you have a right to feel that way. Nobody else has to understand or agree or validate how you feel, because you alone are the one who feels how you feel, and you know what that, and giving yourself permission to be okay with that instead of being angry at ourselves for feeling how we feel.
And what a great place for us to end. That is so true. Yeah. Thanks so much for talking with me, Anne.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes. I could talk to you for another hour. But Anne, could you tell me and the listeners how they can reach you?
So my business name is Lux Aeterna Healing, Lux Aeterna, Eterna Healing. That's my website. So you can go there and you can find all sorts of helpful information. There's links to my books and CDs. There's the links to my social media pages as well, luxaeternahealing.com.
And I will put that in the show notes. It was so awesome talking with you.
Yeah, I agree. It was very enjoyable.
Thanks again. Talk soon. Thank you for joining us today on the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. Remember, your well-being is a priority, and we're here to help support you every step of the way. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring content on health and wellness. You can also join our Facebook group to connect with Wisconsin wellness providers by clicking the link in our show notes. Take care of yourself and remember that your well-being is a journey, not a destination. We look forward to you joining us again next time on the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. Until then, stay well and stay inspired.